Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome to NFT Live, Web3 Network on a Friday. We're about to have some good vibes. A lot of awesome folks up here on the stage. Our co-host panel keeps growing. We had 6, and now we are just testing the limits of technology here with an awesome team. Awesome folks here already filling up the comment section. Jeff Bulzos, Nick Swervis, Peter Koo, Mike Elf, Casey. Who else is in here? Xerox Flip, Forrest, a lot of Moonbirds taking up the chatter there, and that's going to be the topic of conversation along with a lot of other things, highlighting IP3, highlighting building IP in Web3. But I will be the Robin to your Batman here, Biggie Poppins. How are you doing here today? And go ahead and introduce all the fine folks up here.
You just doxed me, man. You just doxed me. So I'm supposed to be Bruce Wayne. This is Bruce Wayne coming to you live. How convenient that you said you would be the Robin to my Batman. We will talk about that in a bit, but I'm super stoked about today's episode. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, we do a lot of talk back and forth here regarding IP and how it can be applied to NFTs, and so I think this convo is just going to be one of those epic ones. I'm stoked to get into it. Would love to just go around the box and have everybody just introduce themselves briefly, say some GMs, and we can get started.
GM, I'm Stevie. I work at Proof Culture and Community, doing a lot of different things. And my favorite thing about what I do every day is getting to get to know the people behind the birds. Some of my favorite people, some of my favorite birds are here on the panel with me. Obviously, Biggie and Sarah and Christine and Jesse. Just an incredible, and David, of course. But we've got some just incredibly hardworking, amazing birds here, and I can't wait to come here, support you guys, learn more about what you're doing.
Kristen, GM, how are you?
Hello, I am Christine Liu. My bird is usually 9500 with a halo, but today I am representing IP3, but I am a day one Moonbird, and this conversation is something that we've been wanting to have forever now with our partners. It's just we've been in 6 months of SEC due diligence, we'll talk about a little later, but I'm so excited, so appreciative of you guys giving us this platform, and just good to see folks. And I know people have a lot of questions, so we're going to answer them finally today on Moonbirds in Hollywood.
I love it. Moonbirds in Hollywood. Miss Weinstock, just a brief
Yes.
intro.
Hi, my name is Sarah Weinstock. I am, you know me as Miss Weinstock on Twitter /X and within the different communities. And I'm an entertainment and Web3 exec. I've worked in entertainment for 22 years, spanning 4 different studios, 3 major studios and smaller independent production companies, or sort of mini studios as well. And I've worked in Web3 since 2021, raised capital and kind of done more corporate, operational, and finance for a number of startups in the Web3 space. So that's me. And I'm co-founder and COO of IP3.
Awesome. Awesome to hear. And finally, David, how are you? How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm David Uslan, and I am but a humble 3rd generation comic book geek. And I am here because I love everything about content and cool IP, and I come from a family that's pretty known for developing franchises and looking at ways that, you know, content can connect with the film world and the TV world and the gaming space and the publishing space and with location-based entertainment and a bunch of areas of licensing, but, you know, how to take content and make it accessible and relatable to the rest of the world, not just North America, but, you know, other places around the globe that have just as many, if not more, geeks than are around me here in the States. So I love the part of the business of finding the next great franchise and And that's why we're here talking about Moonbirds today. I'm a co-founder of IP3 as well. And I'm just happy to be here, guys.
Absolutely love it. You know, the reason, one of the reasons I'm so stoked to be here today and talking about it is because, you know, within the whole NFT ecosystem, there's a constant back and forth and discussion about IP rights and how those can be applied and expanded upon. And I do believe that up to this point, we've had a very limited scope of those applications, right? I think some of the best, I think, projects out there that are doing it would be Pudgy Penguins with Lucanets and, you know, maybe the Apes, maybe Proof. Not too much, and not too much has been explored, right? And very much like in the financial ecosystem where we're trying to convince the old guard to see the light and all the possible applications of this new technology can unleash upon the world. Positive things, right? It's been an uphill battle. And so it's very refreshing for me to see people like you, professionals in the industry, embrace this and acknowledge this possibilities, right? And now, well, we'll get into the project that you guys are going to be presenting today, but I think you guys are exactly what we've been waiting for, right? To have people come over here to this side of the pond and start exploring all the possibilities that IP and Web3 technology can unleash upon the world.
Yeah.
Oh, but real quick, I see Jesse. He
Yeah,
didn't introduce himself.
Yeah, Biggie's just upset.
Oh my
because
God,
he's
I
going to be
skipped
showing
Jesse.
up
I'm
on
sorry.
background.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm over creative strategy at Proof. Really spent about the last 13 years building a business, working with brands, building brands up here in Seattle, and sold that in December. Behind the scenes, I've been working on the Proof stuff for quite a while, and just talked to Kevin and Justin about, hey, what does it look like to kind of help expedite the brand and the IP side, which is kind of my wheelhouse. And so I work behind the scenes with folks like Stevie and Colin and Justin on building out the brand, where it's going, and kind of double clicking on our how we're planning on leveraging IP in a much bigger way. So that's what I'm doing here.
Fantastic setting there, by the way, sir. The Moonbird art piece there, all the collectibles. You're doing a fantastic job there.
Yep, big fan, big collector.
Long live DBS.
Let's go.
All right. Well, I think we can start diving into it. I'm very interested in, you know, giving us like a little bit of a synopsis of what IP3 is about. By the way, I'm a big fan of the name. You know, really merging both concepts together in a really elegant, succinct way. But if you can tell some of our community here what it's about, what are you guys cooking?
Well, I'll kick it off and then I'll hand it to David and Sarah. But I like to say IP3 started in a deli in Studio City, literally in 2021. And it was over pastrami sandwiches and a bowl of matzo ball soup. And I say that because if you follow me over the last 2 years, I think I probably have countless pictures of different variations of pastrami and matzo ball soup. It's become our office. But back in 2021, that was the first time where I texted. It finally clicked for me, right? NFTs. And I texted David and I'm like, we got to meet. There's something going on here. I missed the boat. A bunch of my smart friends, I was making fun of them for bored apes and I thought they were ugly and we got to get on this, right? And so over our pastrami sandwiches, I just proceeded to give him the download of the last 2 weeks of me going down. We all did this, right? Went down the rabbit hole trying to figure out what everyone was doing in the space. And what I was seeing was the possibilities of creators that come built with their own community already and what's possible when you bypass the gatekeepers and you're able to speak directly to a community and build your IP organically and test it and iterate it. And then what happens when you plug that into Hollywood? What happens when you get a chance to plug that into, 3 generations of comic book geeks, which David's family is? That to me, I didn't have the answers, but I knew something was there. And so, that the rest is history. We wanted, and again, my background, I come from the tech world, so was very familiar with Kevin Rose, and I wanted to create my own because I was a founder turned investor, but I also, and that's going to be one of our projects for IP3, but wanted to create a children's franchise, children's entertainment franchise, but realized there was absolutely no infrastructure. So if I don't have the ability to take this, maybe I need a partner with a good old friend of mine. And so that is David Uslin. And maybe he can tell you what he saw in it, because old Hollywood meets Web3. It's a little crazy. David,
You
remember?
know, like I said before, I live a life that is all about traversing the globe and trying to find, just really the next cool thing, and something again that could connect into a bigger ecosystem that could bring content to every part of the globe in the right way, in the right medium. And our family has been involved in not only some great franchises like Batman and a few other big ones like that, but on the animation side, we had the honor of being a part of the Lego franchise, the Lego movie franchise. And I remember the first time Christine showed me these cute little owls, these cute little birds, and all of the variations for them. And all I could do and all I could remember from that first sit down, that first time I saw these cute little characters, I just thought of how the Lego franchise started. And this world that we live in, when it comes to great IP, it's all about great stories and great characters. And there are so many adorable characters that are a part of the Moonbird franchise that it is it's amazing to have the options that we do. So I was on board from day one, and the other, not to go off on too much of a tangent here, but one of the other great early stories, and Christine might want to fill it in more, but we had like a little, I think she went out across X, Twitter at the time, and just said that we were interested in potentially developing a film or a franchise of some kind, and to submit your Moonbirds so we can see them and add them to yeah, it was virtually a casting call. And within, I mean, it was like the blink of an eye, but within hours we had so many adorable Moonbirds that were submitted, people that were super excited to just be a part of whatever it is that we're trying to figure out. And I just remember sitting there spending so much time. Yes, and it was awesome.
You
It was
fell
awesome.
for it. You fell for it
I
because
did.
David never is on Twitter, everyone. And so I was like, how can I get him to really see what it's like to develop IP from the beginning with an active community around it? And I'm like, I'm going to do a casting call, and I'm going to tag DM Uslin, which is his Twitter handle. So everyone who replies from the Moonbird community, he's going to get a notification. And so sure enough, right? Didn't that flood your phones?
And it literally lasted over 24 hours. And I remember sitting there too at some point with my kid, who is now almost 9, and just again looking at this adorable, I feel like infinite list of characters. And honestly, when we had some of our very early conversations with some of the bigger studios, animation studios out there that I'm close with, and once we got to show them the same thing, this great casting list, everybody, you could see the expression on everybody's faces. Everybody immediately smiles, and they immediately can see where something like this could go. And that gut reaction is the same gut reaction we've seen now countless times. And it just reinforces the fact that we all got something really, really special here.
Man, that's awesome to hear. I couldn't agree more. I love showing these to my little girl, and to this day, like now, she'll just come up and be like, "Oh, show me the búhos," which is owls in Spanish. Um, that's really interesting, and I want to go back to something that you led with, David, because you said you introduced yourself first of all as a third generation comic book geek, right? And I feel like, man, if anybody was gonna get NFTs, it would be comic book geeks, right? Because there's very few things that are as grassroots as being a collector of comics, right? And so I think both of them, match really well together. Was it? I know you're talking about the artwork here, which I also agree with you is very impactful, right? Like I think, well executed artwork like Moonbirds, it's very easy to embrace. It captures you. Uh, what about the community has struck you or stood out the most, right? Like to me, it's a very special community. It's my family. I consider it my home, my nest. But I'm curious for somebody coming from the outside, like you said, that doesn't engage in Twitter that often. What was your impression?
Well, the comic book fan base, the communities that you see align with the kind of genres that we love. Those are hardcore fan bases. I mean, like you go to San Diego Comic-Con, you go to some of these bigger pop culture events, and the fan bases, the communities turn out, and they turn out in a very forceful way. NFT related, Web3 related communities are, I think, even more forceful. It's even more. It's more of a tight knit community, and you can do more, I think, with the type of fans and community that you find in this Web3 NFT medium. When I see things like, when certain exclusive apparel becomes available, when live events take place that only have a certain amount of tickets, and only a certain amount of people can get access. It doesn't matter what, again, the offering is. You see these communities turn out in full force, and that's something that I love to see. And that's why, when I've seen some of the comic books that have been done with some of these, again, Web3 NFT projects, and how they offer them internally to the communities, these things there's a bloodlust for them. And it just shows that everybody is willing to support and bend over backwards to just try to create the best situation possible. And I love that. And I really do. And it means you care, and you have an intimate connectivity to this IP. And, I feel the same way about tons of content that just resonate with me personally because of for whatever reason. Now, with my family, most of that intimate connectivity comes because of our relationship with the creators behind the IP that we work on, and that real close bond, that close relationship that we have. And we are a family that fights for creator rights. And one of the things that I have seen my whole life, especially working in the studio system, is, I'm not going to say in every situation, but in too many situations, you see the creators get screwed, and you see the creators get taken advantage of. You see accounting issues and all sorts of financial issues that all happen to screw the creator. And one of the things that I adore about the Web3 NFT space is that, through the technology at hand, creators are protected more than they ever have been. IP is protected more than it ever has been. Things are tracked, recorded, done in a way that honestly should have happened a long time ago. And I love any medium that is there to protect the IP, to protect the creator rights, and that's another reason why I'm such a fan of this world that we're living in, and this technology, this medium that we're talking about today. So I love that, and I love that no matter how you do it, you have to pay attention to the voice of the community, and I think that that's a marvelous thing.
Biggie, I'm going to hop in here real quick and kind of re-ranch what we're doing. We have
Mhm.
IP3. We got Moonbirds takeover of NFT Live here. A lot of comments are coming through that I'll get to in just a moment. And then one of our other co-hosts, Huda. Yes, of course there's space for you. It looks like there's 2 spots left.
Of
Come on
course
over,
there
man.
is. The red-headed, bearded fella. Come up here,
I
man.
swear, though,
We
the
miss you.
software that we're using, they're going to send me an email after this and say we can't do this that often. Folks, I'm going to show you what we've got going on as well here. So we're both on X and YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you guys leaving a like and sharing it out to the Discords and the communities that you're in. And then also, I will drop this link where we are watching live on X as well. For those of you folks that are doing over there, we appreciate it as well. So, Biggie, that was my Robin take. Go ahead, sir. Take us into the future.
I mean, we're talking about community, and yes, I am so pumped. Shout out to Mike Elf saying, "When Dead Bird Society movie incoming?" My brother Nix. Yes, his son is always asking about the Owl movie and whether it's a trailer. I get the same thing from my daughter, and she sees it all the time. Honestly, I love that trailer, but we need something new, Jesse. Like honestly, it's not sufficing with the kids. Man, so many great people. DP, Nick Service, thank you for showing up today with the community. This is awesome, an awesome point in time, I think, and I can't wait to see how this keeps developing. I would love to bring in Jesse and Amanda here and ask from their point of view, from the proof ecosystem, how you are viewing, IP3's approach to embracing this Moonbird narrative, right? And especially now that we have CCO, I know there's been some controversy regarding it, but I just think this clears up a lot of blockage, right, Miss Weinstock? Because this
Yes.
usually takes a lot of time, to do paperwork through, and for me, it just stifles innovation. It stifles creativity. And I love that you guys are coming in and being like, yes, even better. CCO, you're going to make it so much easier for us to disseminate all the things that you guys are probably dreaming of. I'd love to hear your comments about it.
Man, I was watching that video and I was just remembering how amazing it was to finally see that all come to light and to see everyone, really experience a story that we have, been working on for a while there. I agree. I think, this is something that we want to continue to build on, but it takes some time. I think that there needs to be a more sustainable way to kind of keep that content going. And I think that just needs to be a very, let's say a very focused and real long-term sustainable approach towards it, right? If we have a while to build a brand and we're going to do that and nurture that well, I think, the best thing that we can do is support the community that is wanting to create their own stories. Like you were saying, this is the best part about CC0. I think that there was a concern over the value of an IP, if anybody could just go ahead and take it. I think, really, if you are a creator that wants to build something, really long term, you're not just going to steal someone's IP, right? You want to be able to know that person. You want to be able to be sure that, yes, that's also quite like that IP that you want to use also needs to be mindful of who the owner is. Is that an owner that's going to hold on to that bird for a long time? Or is it going to be something that you'd have to, kind of worry about? So I think, as we've been talking to Christine and the IP3 folks, I know that they're going to be really mindful to choose characters that they will be able to have a good relationship with the owners, and really try to honor the owners in one way or the other, right? And so I think that number one is very important. And then number two, I think the beauty of CC0 is that the art, the specific art, the pixel art itself is CC0, which is number one, quite difficult to like, animate anyway. And number two, because that one specific art is CC0, you can do whatever you want with the likeness of the bird. You can create it. You can see the Moonbird in that first. Oh God, please no. You can see the likeness of. You can see the likeness of the bird in that first Mythics video. That bird itself, that's our own IP right there, right? Because it's a completely different style, and now you can kind of use that and be creative in your own ways. And so I think this is a really important thing to watch other people in the community be creative and really kind of set this path forward for other people who may want to do that, and see how successful, how freeing, how less limiting it is to kind of create your own franchise, your own world, and really build that. And that's the beauty of Web3. That's the beauty of decentralized IP. I'm excited to see what you guys do with it, and really make it your own. And we're here to support you guys, and we're here to really engage the community, especially those with like really cool birds that you guys might want to feature. We will always be that that team that will help you guys find those people and source those people. So I'm really excited to see as you guys kind of develop this project on your own, for sure. Jesse, what do you think? Man. Yeah.
I think this is like the fun part of Web3, right? Is folks from the outside. The great thing about what IP3 is doing is obviously they're true professionals, right? We're super lucky to have folks like that in the community. This isn't like a fly-by-night thing. These are folks that know what they're doing. And so for us, it's really easy to support efforts like that, right? The nice thing though is that we also have our kind of world going, and they're going to building out theirs, and we're going to be communicating between each other. And then ultimately the market's going to really, decide when they see the content if they think all the stuff we're doing is cool. And so, I'm excited about the storytelling efforts. I'm excited to get such kind of veterans in the space also pushing this forward, because we all want the same thing, right? We want Moonbirds to be a strong global brand that people love. And so now that there's kind of two teams also working on this at the same time, it's kind of hard for us to beat.
I couldn't agree more, man. And I think the storytelling aspect is so crucial, right? To it, I think when you look at most of the brands that are doing well, aside from the art that David highlighted, I think it's the narrative that is behind it and the people that are creating it, right, as they go. I'm curious, how does IP3
actually, and Biggie, I think the big thing people don't understand behind the scenes is development cycles, right? Of just how long it takes to do this stuff. In Web3 we have such short attention spans, but like this is just sitting on my desk. This is the Moonbirds universe, right?
Alpha.
And when you actually go to build out global IP like this, people are like, it's been 6 months since we've gotten a movie, and you're like, well, that's so. What you have now is you have dual development happening, which is really interesting, right? You have IP3 going, you have us going, and they're also going to be talking to each other. And so, from a community standpoint, what you're really going to get is two products both getting built at the same time, right? They're kind of mirroring each other and talking to each other. So it's going to do nothing from our perspective. It's going to do nothing but help push the brand forward faster.
Yeah, at least two. Let's get more. Because the Web3 degens need content more and more. And so the more teams that kind of embrace this concept and this idea, the more we will always kind of have this IP that is always out there, is in different audiences, is approaching different things. Mike, if you want to do a hangover movie, let's go. Let's do a little Dead Birds thing, whatever, and just kind of feed this community who I think is really hungry for some creativity here. So I think it's going to be really cool to kind of see what you guys are doing.
Agree. And honestly, thank you, Jesse, for highlighting that, which is so important, to remind people in our space that this is still early tech, and although it moves at lightning speed, when you're trying to bring in these veterans of other ecosystems that are trying to embed themselves here in the Web3, these things take time. And I've had my own personal experiences in Hollywood, so I can 100% recognize just how long sometimes these projects can take, right? It can be years from the moment you sign a deal to developing the screenplay and bringing the right producers and directors and actors on board. And again, the most crucial part, right? Like we just saw this right now with AI and actors, right? Like trying to negotiate what IP these studios are going to have access to, right? Like with their faces and their bodies. So you can imagine all. I don't even want to know, Ms. Weinstock, but I'm sure you've had vast experiences in this. It must be a war zone. I I'd love to hear your take on CCO and how much that liberates you to be creative and go out and explore all types of possibilities.
It is pretty awesome. I mean, initially, Christine and I were talking about this. We were looking at doing artwork and kind of a look and feel for IP that we're developing that was more kind of mythics aligned. And then as soon as but there's a lot of paperwork and huge trademark and contracts that you need to get in place that's very specific, especially if you're working with film studios or streamers. You have to have that, those boxes ticked, and it takes time. And just going from one lawyer to the other lawyer and redlining contracts, I mean, you can literally go through 6 months or more of that on occasions. So when Moonbirds became CC0, we were like, oh my God, wait. We still have some stuff to do, but this probably took away, months of actually having to pay lawyers to like go back and forth and negotiate some of these things, but just freed up our time to go and find additional partners for development and to storyboard and, to build our own Bible of Moonbirds, lore, universe, and that, I mean, that's where we want our focus to be, on the fun stuff, as opposed to, the legal and financial stuff, which honestly is what I do, so I don't find it that boring. However, I know it's not the most exciting thing for everybody else, so it's really nice when I can also participate in, the fun things.
And this is Christine. I will add, though, in all this, because I know a lot of our fellow Moonbirds are wondering, well, what's in it for me? Because CC0, hey, I'm a day one holder. I get it. We were all, kind of jumping in. And from the beginning, it was important for us to feel liberated creatively and legally so we can move the project forward. But at the same time, we have always kept in mind, what is another way we can reward and take the community of Moonbirds holders? Doesn't matter if you're day one or you just, jumped in. How do we take them along for the ride, given that the development cycle is so long and that we are so, attention span deficit here in Web3, and where we've arrived, and this will be, something that'll be evolving, is, and it has not been done before, which is what we love doing. What happens when you take veterans in Hollywood like Sarah and David, who understand the development cycle? That's like a startup. There are people that need to be hired from this. There are talent, there's PR, there is going to be a Web3 community that needs to support the development of this along the way. It's almost like having a fan base from day one. And so we're excited about the possibility of saying, okay, well, more so than others, and I'm going to be biased, our Moonbirds community, have you guys met some of the people in person? Are you kidding me? Like, if we were in a networking, passing each other's LinkedIn around, you would be amazed by the amount of talent. And so that is not lost on us. And so what we're excited about is let's free up the IP CC0 and the artwork and the storytelling. And let's also then look at how we can involve the Moonbirds community in the actual production of the film along the way. So it won't be something 2 years from now we go, here is the, here's the trailer, right? Everyone's gonna come along for the ride. I hope that's clear.
That's awesome, and it does come through the earnestness, and that's something that I've always appreciated from our community. I couldn't agree more, Christine. Like the people of Proof and Moonbirds are very impressive people. You know, they're builders, and uh, I can't wait to see what you guys do with this. I'm curious. You know, looking at the so far, the applications for IP that we've seen is pretty much revolving around short form content, you know, collectibles, whether it's plushies, merch, what have you, and gaming. I'm curious, without revealing too much, because I'm sure you're keeping some stuff close to the vest. Like, what are these? What are the gaps? What are the opportunities that you see that people are just
Oh,
still sleeping on or not
yeah.
recognizing, right? Because it is there's way more possibilities than there were before.
So good timing. If you flash, put me back on the screen, this whole background that is actually on our site and in our deck. This is actually my cleaned up version of David's really messy back of a placemat at a deli scribbles on all the different boxes that IP can go to. Because, having been the family that holds the Batman film franchise and originated it might know a thing or two over the last 35 years of all the places IP can go. And so all these boxes are actual relationships that we have access to that we want to extend to our community, including Moonbirds, when developing this IP. And that's what I'm excited about, that is all the places it can go. But you always have to start somewhere. And we always start where we feel we're strongest coming out of the gate. But you can build from there.
Well, that's a lot of that's definitely seems like it's a lot of opportunity. I don't know if we can zoom in on that, but I'm curious to ask David, where do you see the most potential? What's got you the most excited? Where is the part where you can't wait to dive in out of this whole chessboard of opportunity that you just showed us?
It's not so much where, it's more of when, because when this process starts, it snowballs. And if you know how to evolve a franchise, then it is a normal progress to make your way through a bunch of those boxes that were behind Christine's head. When I personally and selfishly think of IP development, I think of the main cornerstones, which is, film and television, gaming, publishing, and listen, you have a lot of other things, but like those are the three main areas where you can really develop story and characters and create real, hopefully multi-generational longevity for an IP. So I naturally go to places like I can't wait to see, the Moonbirds comic book series. I can't wait to see the Moonbirds, young adult novelization series. I can't wait to see a kids book of characters and that they can color in, and the next great, art books, for kids. I can't wait to hear the next great Moonbirds audio drama or dramedy, on Audible or Spotify or whatever. So there are all of these different mediums that have not been taken advantage of yet, but that's nobody's fault. It's just because this is where the industry has been evolving while you all have been building your community. So there are new things and new opportunities that are literally happening every day. I mean, we just came from CES a couple weeks ago, and you walk those hallways, and it's mind blowing what is coming right around the corner, right? And being able to prep for that is just as important as taking advantage of what exists now and what's popular now. So I as a fan of Moonbirds, as a multi-generational geek, I can't wait to see what happens on the literary side of this IP, of this franchise. I can't wait to see what happens on the gaming side, and again with animation and live action, no matter what. I mean, there's so many ways to tell stories in film and TV now, in short form, in long form. You have all of this cool immersive, content and technology that can allow you to do different things. I mean, the new Apple Vision Pro, being able to just watch content on something like that in a format where you can add real volume and depth and immersiveness. I mean, there are all of these different opportunities that honestly the entire community could take advantage of in so many different ways. But the point here, which I love because it was reiterated a bunch of times, which is the fact that everybody communicates with one another. And if everybody in the community continues to communicate with one another openly, if the community continues to stay on the same page, then this IP really has what it takes to become the next great franchise. And it does take time. It takes a longer amount of time than anybody really wants. I mean, that's the entertainment Hollywood business for you. But one of the things that I can say for sure, and that I can promise the Moonbirds community, is that the people that we're talking to, the studios, the animation companies, the talent that will go to, these are all very personal, intimate relationships that we have. This is not just like, hey, let's go work with the next hot animation studio. Now, granted, the animation studios we work with are some of the best in the world, but the main point is that our connectivity to them most of the time goes back farther than my lifetime. And, my family's been in this business for over 50 years now, and being able to have these intimate relationships with these necessary partners, I'm telling you all, this expedites the process tremendously and makes the process more efficient than you typically find in Hollywood. And I understand the desires, the anxiety the community has to see more content, to see progress, to see movement. By bringing in this type of environment, this type of ecosystem that we're bringing to the table, this is the best way to do things as quick as possible, yet still do things in as absolute high quality of a way as possible. And that is our mantra here. That is our goal that we're working towards every day. So again, I'm excited to, as the days go, open up the community to these relationships, and again, extend the family in necessary ways. But all of these different pieces are all at our fingertips now. They're all right in front of us, and again, I think that just the timing of all of this could not be better, and the world really is at our fingertips. So with that, this is what keeps me up at night and what causes me to get less than 4 hours of sleep every night.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, David. For starters,
it's all for good things though, which is great.
I agree, man. And again, having had some experience in Hollywood, I echo what you just said. Relationships are everything over there, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think it's very important, to highlight that these things take time, because you really want to ensure that you build a solid base from which you can build up on, right? But once you get going, these things snowball. And speaking of snowball, because I've been in talks with Ms. Weinstock and with Christine for some time, and it's why I'm so stoked about this project today, is because you're finally able to come on the show and reveal what you've been working on, right? Because I know Weinstein was very limited because of the sec, and because you guys are going to be doing a raise, and I'm curious as to what the Moonbirds' possible role there is, and I'd love for you to talk a little more about that because I'm really pumped about it.
Well, I'll kick it off, and then Sarah, because she's really done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the due diligence. There is a reason why we've discovered not a lot, if any, Web3 projects actually go through the process of ensuring and, making sure their community can actually call themselves actual real investors, and it's because it's illegal to, unless you go through the process that we just went through to be able to give people who are unaccredited, and that means anyone. For us, it's going to be a very affordable minimum $500 investment. But to be able to call yourself real investors, and not just in Moonbirds in Hollywood, we are IP incubator. So we will be every year incubating 10 to 12 original IPs with creators. Oni Force is another one. Myth Division, if you've heard of Ramon, and the Bored Ape community that he has. We have a 90s nostalgia club that we have been working on, the children's education, franchise that I've been talking about. There's a lot of amazing things, but first and foremost, we've been working on Moonbirds in Hollywood the most. And so we are launching, and this is the first time we're saying it, we are launching next month, to the just public launch of our Reg CF campaign, to raise money for the IP development fund that will go into the early stage development of all this IP. And that's critical, and we can go into more detail in another thing. The reason why it's critical is it will allow us to partner with creators to maintain ownership of their IP long enough so the studios don't do what the studios are used to doing. And this is something that we are really excited about, and Sarah can let you know there's probably the reason why no one else is doing it, because it was freaking hard. There's a reason, but we're excited. And so every single person who is listening now, but especially Moonbirds holders, will be able to actually say they're real investors, equity investors in the things that we're working on.
Equity in Web3? Finally? Wow, that's awesome. It's great to hear.
We've got a message in the chat. Oh, I'm so sorry, Biggie. We've got a message in the chat, and as we're kind of talking about this again, I see the question again: does IP matter if things are CC0?
Yes.
Would love to kind of just do another little explanation of why this is actually a benefit for folks, and how people will be able to actually benefit even better. Because it's kind of similar to like the SEC thing, right?
Yeah,
the
I have
stuff.
strong opinions on it. You guys have probably heard, but then I'll kick it over. What CC0 actually means is it allowed us to not have to have 200 contracts with individual holders to rent their IP, so we can spend 2 years developing this film that we wanted to work on, this animation we wanted to work on for the community. So the legal hurdles behind that was also already holding us back. What it also means from a creator standpoint is, and then Sarah and I put on our Moonbirds creator hat. We are the creators, in addition to being the ecosystem that is going to bring this to market. As creators, what it also allows us to have is an opportunity to create derivative IP. And this is a word I've learned from the use lens, and Sarah can go more into it, but derivative IP. That derivative IP that we take from CC0, we 100% own. Just like, maybe Mythics is a derivative of the original Moonbirds. That becomes its own. Did I do a good job, David? But did you teach me well? That is
good explanation.
Why we love CC0 when it's still community focused, right?
And just from the point of view of, from that kind of corporate side, it does, as Christine mentioned, it makes life so much easier in terms of legal hurdles to jump through. But also, just coming from a studio background, I will tell you the one thing studios do not do is effectively pick up IP where the chain of title, so like the ownership and provenance of like a piece of IP isn't 100% clear. They're not wanting, a million different holders of or owners of a specific IP. They want to deal with one party, maybe two. I mean, it's very specific, and a lot of times they'll look at something that's really amazing and really meaningful IP, and if they can't have a clear chain of title where they know that people are going to come back and sue them later, and they'll have issues, they'll just pass on it, even if it's amazing IP, and that is really frustrating. So finding a way of kind of circumventing that and finding a way to work within the community, because we are community members as well, and we want the community to be able to benefit and participate and enjoy the ride up to the moon that we will all experience being Moonbirds holders. So that's important to us. But it is a really specific thing that CC0 has kind of opened up and made possible, because it's very, very difficult. Not impossible, but very, very difficult when you're trying to get IP made and get it to the mainstream, and studios are looking at whatever 5,000, 10,000 owners. It's hard. It's a hard thing to pass that.
And I commend you for tackling it. I'm sure it wasn't easy, but as we say here in this channel, friction is the friend of profits. And so I'm sure it's going to be, you guys are going to knock it out of the park. I can already tell. Jesse, you want to weigh in here? I feel like you're about to say something. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I mean, honestly, that was such a good wrap up. Studios aren't going to touch stuff if there's ambiguity, because it's a liability, right? And what the big benefit to here is, yeah, you can get a licensing deal for plushies or something. Maybe you keep a couple % or a point or something on the whole deal. The real win here is owning a piece of a very large brand, right? Like, for instance, like if you owned the one Mickey Mouse where he's wearing a Santa Claus outfit, right? Once a year when people want to do whatever cards, they have to license that specific one from you. So what you want is reach, right? It's kind of like they say, like, it's better to own 1% of Google than like 50% of, I don't know, like your local little drive-through coffee shop, right? So scale is really what you're looking at. And so the bigger the IP gets, the more valuable your kind of sliver of it gets. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, going the more licensing route or anything like that. But if you just zoom out a little bit, know that if you really want, number to go up, right, you want reach.
I think it was a really cool point that you made, Christine, about how CC0 can be really beneficial for creators, right? I think that is sort of the thing that I'd love to really kind of double click on in the future too, is encouraging creators to understand that now you have, instead of you have your one bird or your one NFT that you can now go do things with, or you can go license off to somebody else who's doing things. If you're somebody who's a builder that wants to do something bigger, now you have an entire catalog, and if you want to really build things right, you have these relationships with the people who own, the birds that you are interested in, and you build that together. You bring them along for the ride, knowing that there is not, so many sort of contracts to kind of deal with, but you're, creating something together. You're doing something for the bigger picture brand, which I think then brings more value to the larger brand, right? The more people who kind of embrace all of that, the more reach we have all doing this together. So I'm excited to see what you guys do.
And for those, because most of us don't want to have a headache of figuring out, can we license our brand to Old Navy and have a Moonbird shirt, right? But we want to benefit from it. So we have created this ability to have our own holders in our community be equity investors in the film that we develop. And they will call themselves investors. And, the other fun part I should drop before, we wrap up is the other alpha is, in addition to this investor community, we are going to, unless somebody already beats us to it with the Lunar Society, because I've been saying it over and over, this is what we need. But we want to build like this little semi-docs to LinkedIn for Moonbirds, only because when this thing gets greenlit, we are going to need to hire people. right? And what better way to hire people for a Moonbirds in Hollywood project than to look within our own Moonbirds community? So this was my problem. I solved. I'm like, okay, my bags are down too. But what if I create a film? And then what if everyone else gets hired because this person does PR, that person's a graphic designer, that person is, really great in terms of, business development. There's so many other ways we can play all together in the community. And that's why Sarah and I, we don't care about the FUD that's out there, because like that is so 2022. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. We're in 2024 and this is how we're playing. So I hope that helps. And thank you again, Biggie, for letting us kind of be the first to share it today. But yeah.
Man, I thank you for coming. Thank all of you for taking the time to join our community. You know, we have a fantastic and engaged community that is always interested in seeing these different applications play out and the different possibilities. So I just want to say thank you and
Oh,
thank
and
you to everybody that showed up too.
the
Play-
most important part, I'm so sorry, I forgot.
No,
The
it's
one
all right.
we wanted to leave with was just exclusively for Proof Community and Moonbirds. Is the reason why we've been so quiet about it is we have a tier that is going to be just first 1,000 founding investors. So the first 1,000 that come in, because this is an actual campaign that's going to last 6 months. We're not trying to mint out in a day, right? This is a proper fundraising campaign. But the first 1,000 that come on board, we kind of want them to be a lot of Proof members and folks from the
Nice.
ecosystem. So we're going to quietly release our reservation page next week, and we might only drop it first in the Discord. So hopefully the fellow Moonbirds get a shot at being the first. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thanks.
You heard it here first, folks. Tremendous alpha being dropped. I want to thank everybody that's in the chat. Flip, I saw Philip around there. Marty McFly, can't
Yeah,
do
don't worry
without
about Marty.
him. DP, he's our local resident fudder. He's always around, but he means well. He's just having fun. I have to admit, I did do a double take for a second. I was like, Jesse or Caro? But you guys, I'm sure you get it a lot every now and then. Get teased about it. Is it so, Amanda? Every now and then.
I think there. I think there's a lot of Web3 dudes with beards and glasses and hats out there. They all look-
Doppelgangers. Doppelgangers, man. No, before we wrap up, I have to ask because there's several Moonbirds up here, and I guess I want to start with you, David. What's your favorite Moonbird trait, or mythic,
I don't know. I think I'm just biased because I'm surrounded by two lovely ladies who have some great birds. But Christine's I've always been a fan of. And again, there's too many. I can't help but think of that casting call. I wish that like you're scrolling through them right now, but
We'll
I
do
wish
that.
we could share what Chris.
We're gonna do
Yeah,
another
we should share that because it's so good, and there's too many of them. We have an infinite number of amazing characters here. So I get to come in from a different perspective and get to say, and it's truthful. I love them all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How about you, Jesse? I know you're partial to the Skelly clan, but is there any other trait that you're like, damn, I that one slept through my fingers, or I'm looking to snipe one at some point?
For me, I mean, dead birds. Like my wife and I have matching kind of scaly birds, but also the crummy squiggle trait. I think is still kind of slept on. Absolute fire. Can I say one thing though? Like Biggie, you mentioned like we might talk about. I think is worth noting is like talking about the FUD. Like I just know that like I think the FUD is really motivating for a lot of us on the team. To make this thing as serious as possible. We know that we got something to prove, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. And so seeing partners come alongside and just in general, just understanding how good the team is, right? And so I just, it's just worth addressing that it's not lost on us that we got to put some points on the board. And I'm excited to start revealing some of the stuff we've been working on because we're definitely not going to let people down, We got a very serious group of people working on this brand, and I think it's just a matter of time.
Man, I echo your sentiments. I've been on this stage a couple of times where I've had to address the FUD myself, but I think my co-host here can tell you of my commitment and my conviction and Proof and Moonbirds, the team, the community. It's been always unwavering, and I think it's just if you are part of the community, if you really engage with it, if you're in the Discord, if you have the conversations, if you go to the IRL events. I've never seen anybody leave without a big fat smile on their face and just be like, damn, like this is special, this is different, right? And so to me, it just, I don't know, it bounces off of me. It's inconsequential. I know how long it takes to build a solid base from which to build on, and I know that that's what you guys have been doing, and I don't doubt you for a minute, man.
That
But thanks
also
for
is not
reaffirming it, man.
hyperbole from Biggie Poppins. He is up here. I have the receipts. The clips are fantastic when he's defending the Moonbirds clan. I have a couple questions. One might be more of a lightning question. As far as that raising is concerned, is there any type of requirement from an accredited investor standpoint? It's just open to any holders, or is it just wide open?
It's Reg CF, right, Sarah?
Okay.
So that means anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons also when you do Reg CF, because you're not requiring an accredited investors. The diligence phase is, it's significant. We have to, there's eligibility checks. We have to get financial audits, business plan, like oversight, background checks on everyone. Like it's significant, and it's a lot.
Got it.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're all docked to the SEC, right?
We are.
There's
Yes.
no anonymous anything.
And I can attest to it. I've been an investor in regulation crowdfunding deals before. I've used a bunch of the platforms. I think Republic is one of the most notable out there, and so I commend you for going with them. But yeah, it's accessible to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have Obama to thank for that one.
Last question I have, guys, and I'll let Biggie Poppins take us out. First of all, everybody's been fantastic. The community that's joined into the chat as well, you guys have been awesome all the way through. Also, Inside NFTs, Huda, they're saying I will be a Moonbird now in all caps. Very, very happy about that one. Real quick, guys, I have one last question for maybe the group here. We've been talking about Moonbirds. You mentioned also that IP3 is working with OniForce. Me and my co-founder Gifted are both OniForce Ronin, so that's nice to hear. I'm interested in y'all's takes on any of the other collections or IP, I should say, in Web3 that you find interesting. Obviously, Pudgy Penguins has been like a major part of a lot of headlines here in Web3. But what other teams are doing it well that you can see and you really like? And it doesn't have to be like a rabbit hole discussion. You guys could be quick on it. And looks like David was not happy with that question. But anyways, guys, yeah, take it away.
I'm biased because we have a number of them, like I said, OniForce and with Myth Division, that's Bored Apes. But I'm definitely biased, and I will say this: it's not necessarily the collection or the floor price for us. So we come at it from an investor lens too, because we're investing our time in social equity. So it's the founders. We look at the founders just like the days I was investing in Web 2.0 early stage startup. It's the team, and it's the cohesiveness, and it's the are they going to be able to stick it through the next several years of ups and downs in this crazy space and build something together. So it's the founders to me.
Absolutely. I also really like Doodles. And sorry, my voice is like kind of going this morning, not sure why. But I like the Doodles team. I think they're doing really great things. And they're looking in the right places, looking in the right directions where it's, they want to build something that, is going to be bigger, get that scale, and have all of their holders go along for the ride to, have it be mainstream. That's ultimately, you want to be able to get that IP brand out there. I love that. I always find that actually the toothpaste coming out is a little creepy.
Yes,
that always makes me a little old, but it's also very, very cool. And it's all of these kind of these projects that Quirky's also, I want to mention, I discovered them recently and I'm really into them. The one and only Poppy, and I mean, just these are some really quality people running these projects. But it's these art IP, it's sticky art. I've gone and met with, studio execs, development execs, and shown some of the literally just the artwork, the JPEGs, and the reactions from people are like, wow, this is really sticky. I want to keep looking at this. What else can you give me? What else is going on in this space that you guys are doing? What is cool IP that you think would be meaningful for us? And the fact that studios are really wanting to mine this space for IP means that, we're onto something here. It's some good stuff. IP in studios, if they're, they're looking here, and that means that, these teams are doing something right.
I want to say my favorite IP in Web3 is this. There it is.
Oh, the noggles. Nice.
There is honestly, there's nothing more Web3 than just, it's not even the PFP. Like whatever, you see a nouns and you think one thing or another, but the iconic branding of that simple noggles has really permeated throughout so many other different collections. It's like so sticky, and it has actually almost nothing to do with the PFP. It is the brand. It's a symbol. It's bigger than just this one collection, and it is something that is just like, so I don't know, it's so beautiful, it's so strong, it just feels so Web3 and so crypto that that's a big one for me, I think.
That's a fantastic answer there too. Yeah. Most widespread, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Any last takes? If you guys have any,
Jesse. I'll give you the brand side. Like, so advisor for Quark. So obviously I'm biased. What Sin and Jay are about to do, I think, is going to be really interesting. I think from the beginning, Sin's background of not wanting tobacco traits and stuff like that was always very smart. He's been engineering it, from the jump for like a larger play. So if you ever want to connect with them, let me know. The Doodles team, I'm not a holder, but I can tell you very serious people. I will say, obviously, Luca's a killer. The nice thing is everybody knows each other behind the scenes. But I will say the one brand that I feel like is getting kind of forgotten about right now is BAYC.
Tell them.
Right? Like people don't know how smart Figgy is. Like, for real. Like, Figgy is a big brain. And if you knew the talent behind that brand, and what they're about to do, I wouldn't be sleeping on them personally, right? So again, like, I'm not a dudes holder, but knowing that team, very serious people, they're not going to fumble the ball. Up and comers, kind of sleepers, I think Quarks are starting to get their due. BAYC, like I said, I don't think they've even started yet. Again, going back to more normal cycles. Like, I was a director of media at the Red Bull Music Academy 20 some odd years ago. And I remember watching the Red Bull brand kind of catch, right, when we started doing extreme sports. People don't understand how long it takes for these brands to really find their footing and just like pop. And so those are three brands that I think are sitting there. The biggest problem is going to be differentiation, right? Like, what you see right now with a lot of the Web3 IP is they all are kind of clones of each other. So they're making very similar moves. They all kind of have the same roadmaps. What I like about BAYC is they're very clear. They're an adult brand, which is nice. What I like about Dudes is they're very clear on what they're doing. If you look at Pudgies, it's all about optimism, right? Building everything up the kind of back of optimism. And so I think the bigger part here is, how do you differentiate the noise so it doesn't just become soup of all these characters, but you can glance at it in a second, almost like silhouettes in cartoons, right? You got to be able to judge characters on the silhouette type of deal. Same thing with brands. People can't, people see through contrast. And if you don't build enough contrast between your brands, it's going to be really hard to tell them apart and be differentiated. And so that's really the play that I'm watching, is who can differentiate or die, especially on the IP side. So all those brands are doing really interesting things, but I think that's a handful that I think have a chance to be differentiated and kind of own different parts of the space.
Today I learned it's BAYC. I'm looking at the comments. It's so funny because I'm not the DGen. And I always go in with David saying bored apes because when you're talking to publishers and studios and you go BAYC, they're like, what is that? So we're like, the bored apes.
As long as I don't say bake, I'm okay. Some people say
Yeah.
bake. I'm like, stop.
Or
But-
Basie.
Basie.
I
Sorry
don't love
about
that
that.
either.
I learned.
This is what I have to deal with in chat every single day. We have a lot of BAYC or Bored Ape kind of fudders here in the chat.
Yeah.
It's what I, man.
But to me, I mean, what this just highlights is that, and again, DYOR, NFA, right? But in a world where you are in an ocean of shiny object syndrome, right? Like, if you're paying attention, you just got basically schooled into what these projects are right now, that you have a fantastic opportunity to back these founders, these people that are actually building in the space with a long-term vision in mind. It's mind-boggling, man, and I'm here for it. I'm excited about it, right? Like, I don't know,
Biggie.
It really stokes me.
Yeah, we have to let these wonderful folks off the stage here in just a moment. We'll end NFT Live here in literally just one moment and let them get back to building. The one thing I will say, Biggie, and it kind of in this broader conversation, we've been kind of experimenting over on Say. We used the Wax kind of parallel before we went live. There's something to the price of these assets, because I do think that is a headwind for Bored Apes. Is in the beginning, when it was very cheap, you could go out and you could look for your specific ape that you wanted, and it would be $100, $200, and now it's $50,000, and so you have there's a headwind there for communities that want to build, and that's not what you see on Say right now, and I'm getting that feeling again. It's just making my brain tick in a certain way of like this. How can you build community when your asset costs 50 G's? How like, where do you go from there? And maybe it's another collection that is a little bit more approachable. I don't know the answer. I just know, Biggie, that on Say you can go shopping for a $9 NFT and there's fun in that, and it's bringing the fun back.
But it's temporary, and I mean, I'm not saying all of them, right? I'm very stoked on the Dobbs. Shout out to Dobbs, right? Like, I think there will be great IP and communities that spring up in all these other ecosystems, right? But I also think the majority of these are short-minded and geared towards flipping, right? Like, and that's why it's very important, right, to do your own diligence and know who's behind these projects, right? And that's where you come in with this thing like Docs founders versus undocs founders, roadmap, what have you, right? Like, to me, the price reflects that sometimes, not always, like, what we would like, right? Like, if you were still holding your ape and you minted at 0.08, you must be pretty happy, right? And I guess it's not accessible to bring new community members into it, right? But many of these other projects right now in my opinion, are pretty accessible, and they've been building for some years now and have that advantage, right? Where they've been setting these bases from which they're going to be launching really cool stuff like IP3.
This has been one of the best episodes of NFT Live to date. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this masterclass on building IP in Web3. All of the announcements that were previously unannounced before this show. That was fun. But yeah, please leave a like for these awesome people up here. Biggie, I'll let you take everybody out. We've never had 8 people on a stage, 7 people on a stage before, so we'll figure this out. But thank you guys so much.
Let's go kind of clockwise, I guess, and end with Jesse. So we don't forget Jesse this time. But we usually just go around and say goodbye. From my end, I just want to say thank you for dropping by today. Thank you for our community tuning in. I'm really excited about this and what's going to come, and I'd love to invite all of you to come and talk. Once you have some further developments and news, I'd love to have you guys come by again. So, Kristen, you want to start?
Thank you. We really appreciate the time, and any time that I could share with you all geeking out on this kind of stage, I am here. So I look forward to the next one, everybody. And again, I'm looking forward to meeting as many community members over the next handful of days, weeks, months as possible. So hit us up and let's all chat. Thank you, guys.
And I am looking forward to calling all of you investors in a few weeks or a month. So keep posted. It would be an honor to have you guys as our actual real SEC approved investors. Thank you.
Please, Weinstock.
Jump in.
Am I up next? Sorry, I was like,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Fight
No,
for
no,
it.
no.
no worries. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having us on, and I've enjoyed so much sharing the stage with the Proof team. And I have to finish with, you guys are awesome. You make working with you with the IP so easy and so pleasurable. And I mean, you guys are just absolute rock stars in everything you do. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Biggie, and this entire Web3 team. Like, this is so cool to learn about what you guys are doing. I'd be happy to come back and come hang. And shout out to everybody in the audience. I see a lot of familiar faces and names. And Marty, you hilarious, by the way. Keep it up. So entertaining.
No, don't encourage him.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Jesse, what's up, man?
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I mean, whenever we can get together and talk about the future of Moonbirds and Proof and where it's going, I'm super bullish. I'm excited to, in my opinion, I think it's time for us to have the biggest comeback in Web3 history. And I think this is the beginning of that. And so the teams here, it's all starting to come together, IP3 and other folks like that see the potential. And I'm excited for the market to kind of catch up to what we're doing.
That's awesome. Well, if you're seeing all those OVOTs on the side, that's our little mantra here in the Web3 ecosystem community that we had. It stands for our vibe, our tribe. And thank you for stopping by. And now you're part of the tribe. So OVOT, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.